Welcome back to another Micro Soldering Wednesday. My name is Derek, and today we're going to be going over a repair that you might find yourself in need of, and that is replacing the 5G antenna on an iPhone motherboard. Now, obviously, one of the last positions that you want to find yourself in is having to do work because of tech damage, and almost every single time the 5G antenna gets damaged, it's because of tech damage. During the extraction of the motherboard, maybe someone failed to realize that the flex cable was there, or there was a tool slip or something like that. This is an iPhone 13 Pro Max. It's got a little tear because of some tension that was given on the motherboard during extraction. So I'm going to show you today one of the ways to replace it. Let's get into the video. One of the tools that we're going to be using throughout this repair is this new quick release knife blade set with a really nice handle. When we open it up, we see a few things. We see this really nice, nice and heavy and sturdy blade holder, just like you would see for a surgical scalpel. It's got those little inserts where you slide it in and it kind of clicks in. And a bunch of different types of bits. Let me pop this open real quick so we can examine them. And I'll put a little clip here of all of the different blades that it has. But in the meantime, I'm going to be clicking in the one that we're going to be using today. So let me show you what we're going to do with it. All right, so here we have the iPhone 13 Pro Max, and you can see that we've got a nice little tear right there in the antenna. The nice thing about this particular model is we do have these angled guides here that help us line things up. And as well, if we peel off this little sticker, we just peel this away real quick, what it reveals is a nice pad that we can tend to help remove it. So what I'm going to do is first we're going to, just because these foam pads like to shrivel up under any amount of heat, I'm going to remove it just so we can salvage it. Really easy with some isopropyl alcohol, and then you just come in with some tweezers and you wait for the alcohol to loosen up the adhesive. And if you do it just right, you'll actually be able to just put it right back in its place when the time comes at the very end, so that no one can tell that you even removed it in the first place. So there, that one's off. And I'm going to remove this one as well, and this one. As for the rest, what we're going to do is I've got some Kapton tape here, and I'm just going to come up and we're going to come and wrap up the motherboard nice and tight. It serves two purposes. This helps prevent the heat from getting to the board in other places, helping slightly shield it from overheating potentially, and it also holds the motherboard in place so that if I accidentally get it hot enough to where the solder between the layers starts to melt, I'm not going to have any shifting of the board. And we're going to do the same thing on this top end to where we have it isolated here on both sides. Alright, so one thing that we're going to make note of is here I've got a new flex cable, and you can see that we've got the adhesive that goes around the border here. And we also have this gap from the end of the flex over here to where we know that, I'm going to make some scratch marks in this. We know that all of the solder joints end up kind of in this little square right here. There is adhesive here, there's adhesive here, and adhesive here that hold this down. One thing that I'm going to do really fast with our new tool is I'm going to simply mark the blade. Right about there is the max depth I can take this in before I start to run into the solder joints. As you can see, I can slide in the blade and we can break up the bond that adhesive has without disturbing the solder joints. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of heat. We're going to take our temperature down to like 200, 250. Nothing to where we're going to be melting any solder or anything like that. And I'm going to come in and I'm going to heat it up. This will help really break up the bond that the adhesive has. And the reason I'm doing this and just taking a few extra seconds to do this is because when the solder melts, I don't want anything to be keeping this flex cable from telling me that it's ready to come off, because I'd rather not spend too much time on it with heat. So this ensures that it wants to release when it's ready to release. Now that it's a little bit warm, we're going to add some flux. It's going to kind of flood under the flex. And I'm going to take a soldering iron with some solder and I'm just gonna hold it on the flex here. We're gonna get a nice little ball of solder going here. What this will do is it'll help us kind of gauge the temperature that we're at, but it also will help create a nice hot spot for the solder to interact with to help us let the flex go when the time comes. So now we'll turn our heat up and go up to 400 on my temperature here, and we'll watch the solder melt, and when it's ready it'll come off just like that. And now we're ready to prep it a little bit more for the new IC. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to add a little bit of solder paste, and with the iron we're going to go around, and I'm just going to make sure they each have the same amount of solder. I'll add some more. And now that I'm content with the solder that's on there, what we're going to do is we're going to clean off all of the flux and the old adhesive and residue. So I've just got a Q-tip here and some isopropyl alcohol. I'm going to scrub it down nice and clean. And now we're going to add a very thin layer of flux. I'm going to come in with the heat, and I want to see how quickly we melt. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Take the temperature up a little bit. Alright, I'm just making some last final adjustments to the amount of solder that each one of those pads has, and I'm going to wipe away the flux on the outside. Alright, now it's had plenty of time to cool down, so I kind of have an idea of how long it's going to take to solder this on. We're going to take off the adhesive pull tabs. We can line this up exactly where we need it, right there. And I'm going to just push down on the outside right on top of the adhesive so I don't cause any potential distortion in the flex. And then we're going to come in with the heat when we're ready, and I'm going to count in my head, and we can pull away the heat. And as you can see, we have no movement whatsoever in the flex, so we can call that done. It's a blind solder, which means it's hard to automatically determine just off of that whether or not it's soldered properly. So we can run some tests on the pins and make sure that they're soldered properly. So here you can see we've got our pins. See if I can get those in focus. Grab a multimeter, and I'm going to put it in continuity mode. And here we've got our ground on the left probe here. This should be ground, and I'm getting 0.23 on this one, 0.36 on that one. This one I'm getting ground, getting 0.58 on this one. This one should be ground, 0.23, 0.36, ground, 0.16. Those are the ratings that I'm used to seeing when this is soldered on properly. So one way to verify which ones are supposed to be touching ground, it's really quite simple. Here we've got the old flex, okay? It's not attached to anything, but what we'll get is this will be ground, and these two center pins will also be ground. The other ones should just say open line, obviously, because it's not connected to anything. But the middle ones are ground, and these ones are ground. The other 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines are not ground. And if we really want to, what I can do is, let's steal this little sticker here. And let's put it on the new one, just for fun. And that repair is done. Alright, so now that I've removed the tape, the one last thing is going to be putting these stickers back so it looks like no one's ever had to work on this guy. And just like that, we have put back all of the stickers, all of these foam stickers around all of the connectors, and it looks absolutely great. And there we go. That is how to replace the 5G antenna on an iPhone 13 Pro Max. And it's very similar on all of the other iPhones. The slight differences might be not having the guides like this one does. As for all of the rest, it's basically the same. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. If there's something that you'd like to see in a future video, let me know as well. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving, so I won't be putting out a video, but you can look forward to a video on Friday. So make sure that you're subscribed so you don't miss out on any future videos. Thanks a ton for watching. We'll see you in the next video. We don't want to forget to put back the sticker. All right.